A lot of people say you don't win your league at your draft, but you can absolutely lose it if you step on a fantasy landmine. And the very first person that you're going to want to avoid in drafts, in my opinion here, is Jonathan Taylor. We're going to go by the underdog ADP here. It's going to be pretty close to what's in your home league. He might even be higher because running backs tend to go higher in regular fantasy leagues rather than underdog best ball. So his ADP here is at 21. He's probably going to be going at like 16 or something like that in your home league, maybe possibly. But avoid this guy like the plague, unless he's like in the third or fourth round, which is not going to happen. The main reason you want to avoid him, he's on an absolute garbage team, absolutely garbage. His quarterback isn't Anthony Richardson anymore. Now we got Daniel Jones out there. Is it going to be good for him or bad for him? I don't know. A good parallel for this is, why don't you take a look at how Saquon Barkley was for the Giants when they had bad teams, bad quarterbacks, and then he goes to a good team and he's killing it. So yes, Jonathan Taylor, a good player, but when you have garbage players around you, garbage quarterback on a garbage franchise, even though young guy, great measurables, really a great running back, he's in a bad situation. The thing is, when you're in a bad situation and you're losing, a lot of times the coaches will just be like, you know what, we have a superstar here and Jonathan Taylor, he's a little dinged up. We're like 1-9. We'll just rest him, So you're going to end up with a lot of games. In my guesstimation, this could happen anyways, where they just rest him where he's dinged up. Maybe he tweaks his ankle a little bit. On a team that was competing, he would play through it, no problem. But Jonathan Taylor can just go ahead and rest because they are toast. They're done. They're out of it. And just the thing is, when you have bad teams, they have less trips to the red zone because they get less first downs. They get less yardage. They score less touchdowns. That's less fantasy points for Jonathan Taylor right here. So he's the very first one that I would say we go ahead and avoid here in fantasy football. And hey, if you like the content, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe up. I only have like 100 subscribers. Help a brother out if you could. So the next one up here, we got Garrett Wilson, another guy on an absolutely bad team. Let me know in the comments if you notice a trend here, but the team's not expected to be very great. So Garrett Wilson last year, he did pretty good. I think he broke over 1,000 yards right here, 1,200 air yards, but 1,100, 1,000, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, actually 7 touchdowns next year. But that only was good enough for him to get wide receiver 18, which is not bad. It's not bad. Before that, it was a couple 30s, 30 and 32 right there. But do you think he's going to do this good with Justin Fields this season? This quarterback right here? Well, it turns out Justin Fields, I don't know if you knew this or not, he actually runs a lot. The last seasons when he played a bunch of games, rushed for over 1,000 yards and 16 and 17 touchdowns. Even in like 4 or 5 games or whatever it was, he ran for 300 yards and ran in 5 touchdowns. Oh, this was passing touchdowns. Sorry, excuse me. But he had 5. Oh yeah, he had 5 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing. So he's literally splitting the number of touchdowns he got. And this was just for a few games for the Steelers last year. But Justin Fields can be a problem for Garrett Wilson. Let me show you exactly what. If you don't believe me, maybe you're completely on Garrett Wilson, you could make yourself a very rich person. Jump over to any sports book and look at the lines. These guys make money by having people out there convinced that they're right and these people are wrong. And you bet your money on Garrett Wilson over 4.5 touchdowns this season. Can you bet? You can bet on Wilson's regular season touchdowns totaling over 4.5. So they're pretty much saying like he's going to get like 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that, maybe 6, maybe 2 or 3. Also, he's had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. They predict that to be broken with an over-under on the yardage of 925 here. And we're at BetMGM. You can go right now, put your money where your mouth is and bet on this for the over if you're that confident. I'm pretty confident in the under, or it'll be right around there, right around 4 or 5, right around 900, 950. That's where I think it's going to be. I'm not super confident it'll be way over or way under. But if you think he's going to do great, put the money on it. But right around there, if you're going here in the middle of the third, there are some way other guys you can go ahead and take around this area, like Marvin Harrison. There's even guys later who I'd probably have, like J-Mo. Cortland Sutton probably is going to end up doing better than Garrett Wilson this year. Even some of the rookies down there, Emeka Egbuka, maybe Golden's exciting. Those guys are like 4 rounds behind Garrett Wilson, which is crazy. So I would definitely... I'm steering clear of Garrett Wilson unless he somehow magically, everyone believes the same thing I do when he drops it way down. Next up, we are looking at right here. We have got Tyreek Hill. Now, he has been perennially good for a very long time. We can go ahead and look at the seasons and even open it up to scroll it down even further. 7, 4, 11 still. Wide receiver 1 territory for everyone. Even here, 2, 6, 3, 2. And then last year, what happened here? A wide receiver 3, almost dropping down to wide receiver 4. Well, part of the problem is when you go to Miami, If you don't know his quarterback, Tua, he can get concussions all the time. And everyone on the whole team is absolutely garbage when people like Skylar Thompson come in and whoever else they got to back up the people there. So with that, you also have the chance of Tyreek Hill. So you're actually kind of like doubling up the chances. You have kind of a smaller wide receiver here at only 185. It's not on the bigger side. Some wide receivers are 6'4", like 230, like a DK Metcalf situation. But no, he's kind of on the smaller, quick. But if he does get hit, does get tackled, injury risk right there. Last year, he had a kind of a wrist injury he was dealing with for a long time. And of course, you have to deal with Tua and his concussions. And the more concussions you get, from my understanding, the easier it is and more likely you'll get more in the future. And he just seems every season to get at least one concussion. Somehow they put him back in after a couple games. But this right here, this wide receiver 29, I think that might be more of the norm here for Tyreek Hill. So he's a guy I'm definitely steering clear of. Also, it's kind of their last hurrah. If they're not doing great about halfway through the season, they might start dumping parts. They might fire their head coach. They might just put Tyreek on the bench so he doesn't get hurt. Because if he gets hurt, he probably, I don't know this for sure, but he probably has some kind of guarantee in the contract to where if he gets hurt or something like that, kind of like, remember Daniel Jones, they wanted to get rid of him, didn't want to pay him his money, so they just benched him and intentionally lost so he wouldn't play, so he didn't get hurt type situation. But also, if he gets hurt, it's going to be harder to trade him. So they literally could do something along those lines. And he had asked for a trade last year, then said he didn't want to get traded. It's a mess down there in Miami. So I've kind of steered clear of a lot of Miami people, unless they're dropping later, like Waddle's going later. Maybe he's a guy you could pick up or something. Next up, let me know, once again, if you notice the trend. We've got Alvin Kamara here. Now, one of the things, too, is the age here. 30 years old. Usually the age cliff for normal running backs when they just kind of drop off is 28. Except if you're like a superstar, it can carry over, which I say Kamara's he's like halfway into that category. So it is possible that he has another year this year, maybe even another one after that. And part of what helps him do better too is the receiving here. He has a lot of receiving yards, a lot of receptions. So especially PPR, he's gonna be a little bit better. A few touchdowns here and there, but yeah, I was kind of shocked at this running back 3, and running back 5. How does he get that? Oh, then I look over here. Oh, yeah. He only played 13 games, then 14 games, and there's more games now than there used to be. What was he at the season before that? Actually, running back 4-4-8-1-8-4. He's actually been good. So I am kind of predicting that it's kind of like sort of quote-unquote over for him. Injuries, they're a bugger, and they kind of catch up with you. Hey, I'm in my 30s. I'm quite a bit older than he is, actually, but I'm still in my 30s here. I know how that kind of goes. But I'm not getting hit by giant dudes like he is. He's going to be on an absolute terrible team. So this kind of comes back to what I was saying with several other people in the past year on this particular list. When you're on bad teams, you get less trips to the red zone, so you score less touchdowns. You get less first downs, so you get less opportunities to go ahead and get more yardage and get into the red zones and things like that. So you just end up with less points. So right here, Alvin Kamara with his age, he is much later, 57 there. So it's not as high as the other guys. Maybe like I would take him in, maybe falling in at your flex if you kind of got your wide receivers and running backs already filled out. But you're not quite going to be there at the 56-7 pick right there. So you have to see where he's going in your league or whatever. Later, I wouldn't mind having him on my team, but it's a terrible situation. And the kind of similar to what I was mentioning for Tyreek Hill. If they're completely out of it with their random Spencer Rattler, I think is starting right now instead of Tyler Shuck. But you know, what are they going to do at quarterback? Alvin Kamara. It's a rough situation. It's a rough situation. So at his ADP, I'm steering clear of him unless he drops, and everyone kind of agrees with me. But one guy that almost no matter how much he drops, I'm not taking. We're taking a look right here at Breece Hall. This ADP says 46.8 right here, but I bet you he's going later than that and a lot. But the thing is that people in your idiot league mates, they might not know that Breece Hall is essentially splitting carries like 2 or 3 ways now. That's what Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, wanted to go ahead and do. And it kind of talks about some of that right here. Breece Hall's future uncertain. The Jets running back Braylon Allen, tremendous value in the draft. So Braylon Allen's getting drafted like one of the last rounds, or maybe depending on your league size and what they're doing, undrafted. But Breece Hall, I mean, I could still see people probably ripping him in the second if they don't know what they're doing. What is this guy doing down here? Boom, second round Breece Hall pick. And that is a no-go. Even in like the 4th or 5th round, I ain't taking him. He's pretty much falling. I would say probably I might take him around where like Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason going, perhaps, but he's never going to fall that low. Your league mates are going to go ahead and snap him up before that. So pretty much just steer clear of Breece Hall. Another situation where it's not supposed to be a very great team. They got Justin Fields we talked about. They've got Garrett Wilson, and just everybody's kind of off. of this, because with the running quarterback, in some aspects, you can go ahead and say that the running back kind of gets some more open space because people are distracted, fearing the rushing of the quarterback. It is kind of true, but also that does mean that the quarterback is taking your carries. So Justin Fields taking touchdown runs, also Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen taking touchdown runs and stuff like that. So this is a guy that I'm not going to get unless he falls crazy, and he ain't going to. So here's another one, Zay Flowers. This is a little bit different than the others because he's actually not on a bad team. Actually, one of the people associated with this site actually have him as their my guy. That's what this little symbol next to him right here. He thinks this is his my guy. Sorry, bro. You is being wrong. Zay Flowers, he ain't going to be doing it. He ain't going to be the guy. Last 2 seasons, he's been a wide receiver 31, a wide receiver 32. Nothing has changed for that team. There is no reason to believe he's going to be any better than this season than he was the other seasons. I mean, he's a year older. They got the same quarterback. They got the same running backs. They got the same wide receiving core, except they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, I think. So if anything, maybe a little less. They got the same tight ends, Andrews and Likely. What is changing on this team that all of a sudden Zay Flowers is going to be anything better than a wide receiver 3? And he's not going super high here, I guess. Wide receiver 57, but that's still, what is that, the fourth, fifth, something like that? Ugh, geez. In the areas where I see him going, I would much rather have the Cortland Suttons. I would much rather have Ricky Pearsall, who's definitely probably going later. The few rookies and Buka and Golden and stuff like that, who at least has a possibility. They'll probably finish in a wide receiver 3. I think Tet McMillan is going right around him, and I would put money that Tet's going to finish higher than him in fantasy, barring some catastrophic random injury that I can't possibly predict. Zay Flowers in this particular offense, even though it's a great offense, I mean, honestly, he's probably about even, in my opinion, with Rashad Bateman. I probably should have pulled up Rashad Bateman and kind of compared their stats from last year, because they weren't far enough off for, well, Bateman to be going double-digit rounds and Ja'Marr Chase going double as high as he is. But another person, Chris Olave, and you notice we're kind of getting a lot of people from similar teams. I do not like drafting players from bad teams. Chris Olave, he seems like a pretty good wide receiver, but injured, and all just stuck here on an absolutely bad team. I didn't realize he's only 25 years old. I thought he was older than that, but here he is, 67, so he's going not as early as, we're going further and further back in the draft as we're going along here. But even at that pick, there's a lot of the Cortland Suttons. There's a lot of the, those type of players around there. A little bit later, even Jacoby Myers, I believe, and stuff like that. I would rather take those people, even though Jacoby Myers is on a bad team for now. We'll see. He requested a trade. We'll see if that happens. But for all the upside that we kind of expected from Olave, still 24, 25, and 19. So he's finishing like a wide receiver 2 at his best, and that's with Derek Carr. Now they have Spencer Rattler and some random guy and no quarterback, and it's probably not going to be any better than that for sure. So this is like his ceiling this season. It's probably in the mid wide receiver 2s, to be perfectly honest. Dropping into wide receiver 3s, actually, what this is, now that I think about it. But here's another alarming thing. Right there, 8 games last year, he had them injury problems and stuff like that, which could arise again. Chris Olave, bad offense, might be a good receiver, but bad offense, injured, bad quarterback play. I am steering clear once again of him. Now one on a good team that just got even better with the Micah Parsons trade. I really don't like that as a Lions fan, but Jayden Reed. The biggest thing about Jayden Reed is even last year in 2 wide receiver sets, he was coming off the field, and they were having, I think it was Wicks and Dobbs on the field, Dontavian Wicks, which is crazy. They went ahead and drafted Matthew Golden this year, who's going to be their golden boy, pun intended. But his best finishes have been was a wide receiver 3 his rookie year. Last year, he played more games, finished worse. Not even 1,000 yards, few touchdowns, and they got even more competition. Maybe at the start of the season, he's going to be hurt as well. That's what I was going to bring up right here. Packers has a foot fracture. I believe it was the Jones fracture that is when you either have to get surgery or you just play through pain and it's just broken for a very long time. There's not good blood flow in that area from what I hear. And it just takes like a year to heal, and you just play through the pain till eventually it heals up. So he is hurt coming into the start of the season. Then they talk about him down here. Christian Watson is starting off hurt as well, but he's going to be coming back like mid-season. He'll have to ramp up. He's probably not going to play a ton of snaps, but still, he'll be coming back a little bit after Reed or at the same time, or Reed will be playing through this injury the whole time. So Jayden Reed, with everything going on there, so many different receiving options. The team's going to be pretty good. Maybe with the Parsons and the defense getting a little better, they might even run the ball a little bit more. The Reed, geez, I might take him around like Darnell Mooney or something down a little bit further, or Christian Kirk, the number 2 receiver for Houston. That's where I'd be going with Reed and where he's going. He's going even with Golden. Give me Golden 10 out of 10 times over him right there. Next up, another pretty old receiver, 30. Good receivers can go a little bit longer, but Godwin had a crazy bad injury. Crazy bad. Tore a bunch of stuff in his ankle. And they ended up not putting him on the NFI or the injured reserve. He won't be placed on injured reserve, it actually says right here, but I think it was more of a technicality type of situation because in the preseason, McMillan hurt his neck really bad, and he's not going to be back for like 8-10 weeks or something like that. So they put him on IR. So they ended up with this open spot, and were they going to put Godwin on IR? Well, no, we have this open spot, so we might as well just put him on the roster. He'll practice for whatever he can do on the sidelines of practice, and he'll be on the sidelines for the game stuff, but not playing. If you ever seen any pictures of his ankles, that thing is still hugely swollen. I think he had a setback in another procedure. So Godwin, even though great, and from what I hear about this from the fantasy doctors, even after he comes back after probably like 8 weeks or something, they expect like 6 to 8 weeks is when he'll be coming back, regardless of what the coaches say and stuff like that. It's going to be like a 3, 4, 5, 6 week like ramping up period till he's back to like over 90% of his former self from this crazy bad injury that he had last year. So it's not looking good for Godwin. He's starting to go late. This is 100, but really this is probably lagging. He's probably even further down than this one right here. And it kind of talks about some of the timetable right here. Back on the field anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. Sure, coach. There's no way this is happening from what I'm hearing. Could be wrong, but from what I'm hearing, this back in 2 weeks, yeah, right. Maybe 5, 6, something like that, 7, 8. Hard to say for sure, but then it's weeks of ramping up from there. And at that point, your season's going to be tanked. So, hey, let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these right here. And of course, hit the like button and subscribe. Before you go, hopefully you crush your draft.